Welcome back to the podcast where we explore the world of entrepreneurship and share strategies for building a business that allows you to live the life you desire. Today, we have a very special guest joining us who has firsthand experience in creating a successful creator business. His name is Abraham Casallas, and he knows firsthand the struggle of trying to fit into the traditional corporate mold and the sense of frustration that can come with it. But he also knows the power of finding your passion and turning it into a business that not only helps others, but also allows you to live the life you want. If you're ready to break free from the traditional path and build a business around your passions and skills, then you definitely don't want to miss this episode. Let's give a warm welcome to Abraham as we dive into how to grow your business with digital products. Welcome. How are you?
Thank you for having me. I'm doing great. Super, super excited. That was an amazing intro. I should bring you on the road whenever.
I'm so excited to talk to you today. Like, you and I have very similar backgrounds with the corporate world and kind of not really fitting in and kind of just being like, I don't know what I want to do, but I know that this is not it. So let's talk about your experience with creating and selling digital products and how that helped you scale your business.
Totally. So yeah, like that feeling's very alive for me and a lot of the people that I serve. And I think for entrepreneurs in general, right? But my experience with digital products comes from digital services. When I was in college, I started my first online business, which was a marketing agency. And I was providing digital services. Everything was through my laptop. That business took off and I ended up dropping out of college. But it all started with digital services, right? So what we did with my agency was provide Facebook advertising for a very niche market, which was chiropractors. And like 2 years in, I noticed that there was a lot of chiropractors that didn't want to hire a marketing agency, but they wanted to learn how to do it themselves. So I saw this opportunity to create my first digital product, my first program, my first course, which was essentially just taking what I was doing for chiropractors, packaging it into a digital product, and selling it to the chiropractors that didn't want to hire an agency like mine. So that's where it all started. And it was beautiful because I got to see that, like when it comes to digital products, I can create this one thing and I only have to create it once and then I can sell it as many times as I want to. So that to me was this like a paradigm shifting moment where I realized the margins on this are like 96% versus my agency clients where I'm like running on like 20-30% margin. So that's kind of where it all started. Digital services to digital products.
That is so fascinating. There is one YouTuber who I think she was a fitness influencer, and I just watched a video on like her rise through YouTube, and it was fascinating that she created essentially like a digital product, like you mentioned, but it was like recipes and workouts and things like that. And she made a massive amount of money with digital products. And I was like, that's amazing that someone saw a need and filled it just like you did, but was able to make something that's digital. And like you said, like can sell it over and over again. So for those of us that are like, you know what, this is a really freaking awesome idea. How do we figure out what's the right thing to sell or even create, or how to work with a company that could help us create that? Like, what considerations should we take into account?
Totally. I think the answer to this question, what I always go back to is ask people what they want and then give it to them. Like it's honestly the best way to create something that when you take it to market, it's going to have a market. I think a lot of entrepreneurs, they make the mistake of, oh, well, I want to create this thing. I'm interested in this thing, so I'm going to go out and create it. And a lot of times I spend years, a ton of money creating something that no one wants to buy. So to me, every time I go to create a digital product or a new offering, I start with the market. I start with the people that I'm seeking to serve, and I'll do this. I'll get on a Zoom call with them, and I'll ask them. It's like, hey, like, Jillian, what are you struggling with? What's top of mind? Talk to me. Like, walk me through your business. Like, what's the biggest headache that you're experiencing? And trying to really find the different pain points that if I was to create an offering or a product around that market would actually find useful. So to me, like, the simplest product creation strategy It goes back to that. Ask the market what they want and then give it to them.
Well, and it's so true because if I'm having certain headaches, if you're having certain headaches, there's probably other business owners that are probably experiencing those same headaches. And if we can solve our problems, we can probably solve other people's problems as well. Is there a way, like, what are some strategies or tactics that you use to market and sell these digital products to a targeted audience? Because I know there's so much stuff out there. There's Facebook ads and there's TikTok and there's all this social media stuff. There's also traditional marketing. I mean, what's the best way to effectively market these things once they're created?
Totally. So there is no best way. They all work, and I think a lot of the times entrepreneurs get sold on this idea, then this idea, right? And they don't go deep enough in just like any one given channel to experience a success in that given channel. But to me, I like going about it in two different ways. The first one is creating content that connects. A lot of the times when an entrepreneur creates a new product, they're like, oh, well, like I just created this product. Look how cool it is. Do you want to buy it? And it's like it's very like salesy and in your face, and it's promotion. So I'm not a big fan of promotion, but I'm a big fan of creating content that, again, that connects. That it's like, hey, Jillian, you're an entrepreneur, right? You want to perform well in your job. You want to make sure that when you wake up in the morning, you feel energized. So I created these really awesome blue light blocking glasses, right? And I'm speaking to where you're at. So to me, it's really creating content that connects to the pain points, the problems, the dreams and desires of the person that I am trying to serve. My avatar, the niche participant. So to me, that's probably my favorite strategy, especially if you're an entrepreneur that's just getting started. It doesn't take a lot. Like, you need a phone. Like, that's all you need to be able to create content that connects. But it's really speaking to the hearts of the people that I'm trying to serve. Beyond that, there are different strategies like ads, but I mainly work with a lot of creators, which is why, like, this is a strategy. They're already creating content. They're a lot of the times they already have audiences, and a lot of the times I've tried that approach of promotion of like, hey, I have this thing to sell, do you want to buy it? And it hasn't worked. And then like I just reroute them to like, hey, like just speak to where people are at, like step into the shoes and see the world through their eyes, and then speak to that. And it's like magic. Like, people start raising their hand and say, hey, like, what are you selling? Like, I'm interested in this. Like, hey, I need this. So that's kind of how I go about it.
Well, they're probably like, I have a headache from staring at my computer for 16 hours a day. Yes, I
Yeah,
too need those glasses.
totally,
Now,
totally.
what's the best way that we should handle the delivery and fulfillment of digital products? Because I feel like this is something that a lot of people struggle with. They've got this amazing thing that they want to sell, but it's like, how do you get it to people? How do you deal with the customer service? I mean, what's the best way, or is there a system that we should use to make that process as smooth and efficient as possible?
Totally. We could nerd out talking about systems for hours. There are many, let's say in this, in when it comes to courses, there are probably 20 different platforms that you can utilize. Now, I've tried a lot of these, right? And right now, to run all of my business, I utilize two tools. The first one is Kajabi. This is not an affiliate offer. I generally love their product and service. And what I love about this platform is that you can run your website, your email marketing, your sales funnels, your digital products all in one place, which is really, really neat. I think before Kajabi, I had like 20 different tools, 30 different logins. It was all over the place. So I love that tool to be able to just kind of bring everything into one space. And then a big part of what I do is creating communities for entrepreneurs, right? And while Kajabi does have a community platform, I personally am not a fan of that. Lately, I've been using this other one called Circle, but that's what I personally use. That's my stack. At the end of the day, you need something that delivers the product. You have Kajabi, you have Teachable, there are many, many different platforms. And then for a lot of these offers that I help people create, this digital offers, you also need a community platform. That could be anything like Slack, Circle, Facebook group, but those are the two. And through a lot of trial and error, that I've come down to. It's like the best, and it's what I recommend to my clients. Super easy to use, super accessible, very affordable.
That is so true what you said, because I feel like you and I could like nerd out for hours about like different platforms and like different technology, because I'm the same way. Like, we just had this conversation with another podcast guest a couple weeks ago where we talked about like, how many systems do we have? And is it possible that some of those existing systems could actually be doing the same thing? Like, you don't need 15 different things to do the work of two, like, and going through and saying, okay, how do we figure that out? How do we make it work to really trim down our technology stacks? Because sometimes when you got too much stuff going on, it's a lot.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think is the role of customer service? I know this is probably one that is really hard for people because we're selling these digital products. We've got these systems in place, but how do we handle like the issues and complaints that arise rather than hiring like a full-time staff of customer service folks?
Yeah, a great question. I think customer service is one of the pillars of just running uh, as successful long-term business, So to me, if you don't want to have a huge staff, a bunch of freelancers, you have to drive everything towards one place. And I think we come back to this conversation around systems. To me, the easiest system is setting up a support email address and then connecting that to a customer service platform where when somebody sends an email, a ticket gets created, and either you or someone is dedicated to taking care of those help desk tickets. I personally utilize help desk for this, and I would segregate this from your email because you want to make sure that you just have one place where whenever you go in there, you're only thinking about customer support. If you're, let's say, a solopreneur, or if you have a team, a platform that allows you to see how well these tickets are being taken care of. So for any small business, this is the very simple system that I recommend. Email address connected to Help Scout, and then provide that as your support email address. Now, once you run your business for 2-3 months, you start to see patterns on the different issues that come up. For example, like people struggle to access their account. They're having login issues. So then you can create a very easy SOP, standard operating procedure, around how to grant that access to someone. And then you can easily outsource that to someone overseas for $4 or $5 an hour, right? Which is what I personally do, what I recommend a lot of my clients to do. And then once you do this for a while, you'll have a document with like 10, 12 SOPs for the most common things that come your way, somebody taking care of those. And then you're just taking care of the things that they can't do themselves because they'll escalate those things to you. So again, comes back down to that conversation around systems. But to me, it's super important to have something in place that promptly takes care of those support requests, those customer issues, because again, this is a part of running a good business and creating super fans, which is something that I'm big on.
Well, it's interesting too, because I feel like as humans, when we have an issue and we're fired up about it, and then we send something out to get help on, and you don't receive an email back, you're like, did anybody get it? I'm sure they
Right.
did, but it's like you don't know. So being able to get that bounce back saying, hey, your ticket's been received, we're working it, it's through that process, I think is super helpful just from like a human standpoint to know that like, hey, somebody saw this, it's getting worked. And yes, we all have to have patience, even though we want it fixed yesterday, but something's happening at least. And using those tools, I think it's so important. And I like the fact that you mentioned too that the separate email address, even if you are a solopreneur, as you continue to grow, those emails can be worked as you add people to your team. So it's super efficient. And also, too, I like the fact that you said that you talked about that eventually you'll determine that there's some frequently asked questions, and you could even post those to your website too, have someone create something so that way if somebody's like, okay, how do I reset my password, what's the process, one, make it super easy, of course, but also being able to have that there so people can reference it, or being able to email a PDF is just so key. I mean, path of least resistance for most of our clients, they just want what they want. And so being able to get that digital product as fast as possible, I think is awesome. So many good things come out of that. What
Mm-hmm.
is a good way to, when we're talking about we want to continue to help our customers. We want to add value. What's the best way to keep those digital products like fresh and relevant when things in the technology world are like they're just changing so fast? It's like hard to keep up.
Mm-hmm. I think we can go back to the help desk. I think it's a great place where there's a lot of data and patterns around where are people getting hung up, right? Like it really it's different with like every offer, but if you're getting constant questions around something, or maybe the DMs, right? If you're creating on social media, running a business social media, there's a lot of clues there for what people are looking for. But I think it goes back to, I believe it was the second question that you asked me, about like how do we create something that people want to buy, right? And it's by asking the market. And the best people to ask are your super consumers, the people that love you. Sit down with them and ask them, okay, cool, you've gone through this product, you've experienced this product, you've bought this offering. Now what? Where are you stuck? And it goes back to having those conversations with the market, because that's where those clues of where the market's going and what people are looking for, that's where they're at. And people don't do this. There's this Paul Graham, founder of Y Combinator. He has this beautiful essay that I think every entrepreneur should read called "Do What Doesn't Scale." And a lot of entrepreneurs, they feel they have this sense of superiority where they won't want to get on the phone with customers. And to me, like the best ideas for products that have taken off like wildfires for me have came from me just doing what doesn't scale. And at the end of somebody going through my program or buying a product, offering them a 30-minute call, which is like that's time for entrepreneurs. A 30-minute call with somebody, that's valuable time. But the data that you get, the clues that you get, the signals that you get from having these conversations are priceless.
Well, and that 30 minutes could really change potentially the trajectory of your business, because if you are going a certain way and then you continually get this feedback from clients that you're like, no, they actually need XYZ, it's like you have to pivot and go that way, because I mean, I'm sure we have all created beautiful things that nobody wanted. And you're like, dang it, why did that not work? But really listening to what they're looking for, I think is key, because sometimes we as entrepreneurs just kind of lose track of that, and being able to spend time with our customers to find out what they really want is huge. So huge. And while we're talking about all these different things about digital products, I think the most important thing that we need to talk about is how do we price it? What's the best practice for pricing our digital products? Because of course we want to maximize profits, but again, we want our clients to go through those courses or those digital products, so that way we can get the feedback, so we can make them that much better. What are your tips or strategies on that?
I wish I could give you a one size fits all piece of advice when it comes to pricing, but the truth is that it varies tremendously from entrepreneur to entrepreneur and business to business. Let's say if I'm working with somebody that doesn't have a huge audience, right? Maybe they have 2,000-3,000 followers, but they want to launch something, I will actually encourage them to charge a little bit more, to go a little bit of high ticket and provide a service or product that it provides a lot more value, but where they don't have, let's say, their goal, a common goal for online entrepreneurs is to hit their first 10K a month, right? So with somebody with a smaller audience, I'll encourage them to create something that's around $2,500, $5,000. That way they only have to find 2 people every single month to be able to hit that goal. Whereas if I'm working with somebody that has an audience of 2 million, well, now we can work a little bit with price elasticity, and we can create something at a low price point, like $200, that will just get consumed by a ton of people because we just have that volume, and will lead to 40, 50, $60,000 months, right? So it's very specific. I think if I was to give a piece of advice for something, just make sure that whatever you're pricing, you're providing at least twice the value, and that you'd be willing to pay twice the value of what you're charging, because it's going to make it easy for you to sell that thing. If you're selling it 1-to-1, you'll be like, how are you not buying this? Like, you'll truly be able to communicate that excitement to someone. And if you're selling it on a sales page, again, it'll come through if you genuinely believe that what you're selling is worth way more than what people are paying for it.
That's such a good way to look at it. It's like, if this could change your business, not to be dramatic, but change your life, what
Yeah.
would you be willing to pay for it? Because there are some things out there that could really change your business. You just don't know that they're out there. And I know that you work with a ton of clients across a ton of different industries, but is there like a through line on their biggest challenges or opportunities when it comes to growing their business with digital products?
Yeah. I love the way you phrase this question, challenge and opportunity, right? Because every challenge is an opportunity. And I think for the people that I work with, it's going to come down to audience growth, right? If you're able to hit that sweet spot with your content where you're speaking to someone, your content's resonating, it's getting picked up by the algorithm, it's getting carried out to hundreds, thousands, millions of people, right? Which takes a lot of iteration. I mean, that's the difference between having a 6-figure and a 7, 8, 9-figure business, so getting really good at getting the algorithm to do that for you. That to me is one of the most rewarding challenges slash opportunities that if overcome can explode someone's business. Beyond that, I would say, again, going back to those 2 questions that you asked me, creating something that someone wants to buy. You can't sell ice to an Eskimo. And a lot of people really do approach business like that. It's like, oh, well, like I'm interested in this thing, so let me go out and create a business around it. But are other people interested in this thing, and are they willing to pay what you think that? So to me, it's those 2 things. It's having that amazing product, and ideally having that audience and that content that's continually growing the brand, growing the business, and leading to you having the revenue numbers and the lifestyle that comes with the revenue numbers that you want to have.
Now, if people are like, I know that I need to create a digital product in my business, I don't know what that looks like. I need help working through those challenges of, what would someone pay for? What are my struggles that we could turn into something that would really benefit other people? How do people get in touch with you? What's the best way to connect?
Totally. Best way to connect is go to my website, abrahamcasallas.com. That's my same tag on social media. Casallas is Casallas. And you can find me literally everywhere. If you just Google my name, it'll take you to the right place.
Now, is there a preferred social media that you have? Because I know I love Instagram. I ask all my guests this because I think it's so fascinating to hear what different business owners, which platform they use. Which one's your favorite?
Big fan of Instagram. Big fan of Instagram, but Twitter's growing on me. And I'm very excited for what 2023 is going to hold for Twitter with Elon behind the wheel. So I'm already starting to see some changes and even in engagement and growth. That platform is very exciting. But to me, I've always been a fan of Instagram. If you're an online entrepreneur, it's a great platform for connecting with potential clients, and it's the one that I use the most. So if you want to reach out to me on Instagram, I'll be there.
Perfect. And I'll be sure to link all those social media, the web address, all that in the show notes so people have easy access to it. But one final question for you. This is one that I ask all my guests, and it is fascinating to hear people's responses. What is one piece of advice that you would give to a small business owner? It's hard to choose just one, right?
Yeah. One piece of advice that I would give to a small business owner, I would say this: don't ignore the internet. I feel there are a lot of people, a lot of small business owners that are still going to networking events to get new business, and I'm like, you could spend an hour there, and connect with 30 people, or you create a piece of content that takes you the same amount of time to create and connects you with thousands, hundreds, if it goes viral, millions. So to me, I'm an internet kid. Everything I've done is on the internet. So to me, it's like learn how to use it. Like social media, it's if you're able to leverage it, it will explode your business. So don't ignore it. Learn how to use it, innovate, stay with the times. I know that's probably more than one piece of advice, but the central idea is that don't ignore the internet.
Well, and I think that's so important because over the last couple of years, we weren't able to interact with each other like we typically were. And that's, of course, picking back up. But being able to interact with people in a digital way versus a physical way, I think is just that. It can only improve our businesses. So I'm so glad that you shared that with us. Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule to spend it with us.
Thank you for having me, Jillian. It was a blast.